They're doing post-race analysis for the 2024 Formula 2 round at Monza in Italy. Excellent and exciting racing. Almost always in Formula 2 you're treated to exciting racing. This was no different, although it wasn't quite as amazing as the Formula 3 race, but there's a lot to talk about. I want to have some nice analysis of what's going on, how we can interpret what we've seen. And there's going to be driver ratings at the end of the video. Now, in the starting and qualifying, there's familiar faces at the front of the field. Hadjar, Maloney, Paul Aron, Dennis Hauger, and Andrea Kimi Antonelli's also very consistent. He's always there in the tops. He's not on the front row, but he's there between, 5th, 6th, 7th. He's never really qualifying outside the top 10. Oliver Behrman was quick this weekend. The big news from qualifying in Monza is that Gabriele Bortoleto spun out. Now in the sprint race, we've seen that Behrman is back on form. He was very aggressive and fought his way past other drivers to lead. He pulled out a big gap. Now, if only Oliver Behrman would have driven like this all year. Now, a lot of people saying there's issues with the Prema car, but in a lot of races he's been shadowed by Andrea Kimi Antonelli. He's been lacking pace compared to his own teammate who's in the same car. But looking at this Monza round, it seems the Prema car is very fast, and on Prema, I think some of their struggles are down to having a couple of very young, inexperienced drivers. I think Alex Brundle alluded to that fact in the feature race when he's talking about the fact that they took too long to overtake Victor Martins, and instead they were squabbling amongst themselves. It was a lack of experience. They almost crashed. Again, this was a very exciting weekend for Formula 2, but another surprise in the sprint race was Joshua Dirksen, absolutely rapid, got himself on the podium. Enzo Fittipaldi started on the pole position and he just sunk through the field. He's come home for 7th place, which is 2 points, but for someone of his experience level, that's a little bit underwhelming, or very underwhelming. And the biggest point from the sprint race for me is the two title protagonists at this point, Isaac Hadjar, Gabriele Bortoleto. Bortoleto starts last on the grid, and Hadjar, because of the reverse grid format for the sprint race, he started 7th, and Bortoleto has stormed through the field to finish 8th place. And his determination, okay, so coming out of the last corner, he's in a drag race with Dennis Hauger, and he gets half a point for equaling Dennis Hauger. Now, that is determination, and conversely from Hadjar, now I don't know what's the problem is with the Campos, but Pepe Marti's in the points in the sprint race. Hadjar, he didn't show any fight. It's, when you're in a Formula 2 championship battle, you have to, and you want to put yourself in the frame for a Formula 1 seat, you have to fight for everything. And Hadjar has finished behind Bortoleto, which is astonishing given where they started. So it's just sort of like a lack of fighting spirit from Hadjar when he gets into difficult circumstances. And that's going to play out again in the feature race. Now, in the feature race, obviously, I'm not happy about the way safety cars change the complexion of races in Formula 2. Of course, safety cars are a part of Formula 1, so drivers need to be able to adapt to the safety car situation. They have to think on their feet. But the way the way it works with the alternative strategy and the safety car, sometimes the results don't fully reflect who the strongest driver was on the day. Sometimes people just get lucky with a safety car and people's ultimate championship positions are affected by that. I want to point out that Gabriel Bortoleto, who started last on the grid, he got a big gift with the safety car coming out. A lot of time in hand. He's been able to pit and get out in front of Zane Maloney and Oliver Bearman and those drivers who were leading the race and had already made pit stops. So it's hard to say how Bortoleto would have done without the safety car. But when the safety car came in, there's obviously other drivers that haven't pitted yet in front of Gabriel Bortoleto, and he made light work of passing them. Zane Maloney struggled just a little bit more. Drivers like Oliver Goethe and Kush Miney, they were up there, and they're in the way, of course, because they haven't made their pit stop yet. And Bortoleto he really got through them and he built up an advantage, so that's in his favour. And it's an excellent save. And when you consider the mental aspect of qualifying last on the grid because you made a mistake in qualifying, coming back the next day and winning the race, or the day after, but just coming back and winning the race, that's impressive mentally. I feel a little bit bad for Zane Maloney here. I feel like without the safety car, he would have won that race. And again, Prema looked quick, but Alex Brundle what he said was very correct. He said that these drivers are fighting amongst themselves and they're not taking the opportunity to get past Martins and get down the road after Richard Verschoor, the final step on the podium. So they've been fighting amongst themselves, and Joshua Dirksen is somehow in the mix, and somehow he's finished ahead of Bearman and Martin. So excellent job from him, but he's all over the place. Like sometimes he's really fast, and then he'll go off the road and lose places, then he'll pass a lot of people. So it's a bit crazy. Now AIX is at the bottom of the team standings. I don't think AIX is the fastest car, but was very quick at Monza. But in the hands of Niels Kuhlmann, it was definitely a backmarker car. So I'm not sure how to analyse that correctly, except to say Joshua Dirksen looks quick. He's underrated. He's got the ability to pass people, to make good, daring overtakes. And then Richard Verschoor, I have to mention Richard Verschoor because he's done this guy pulls lightning in a bottle so many times. He's qualified 18th, right near the back of the grid. The Trident looks slow in the sprint race. He had no pace all weekend. He gets the safety car. Okay, that helps him, but the safety car bunches the field up, but he's held that podium position. He's done an excellent job. His raw pace, especially in qualifying, is lacking, but his racecraft whenever he gets a sniff of a chance to get a good result, he always takes it. I like Richard Verschoor. It makes me sad to think that there are less spots on the Formula One grid these days. If there were 26 cars, I'd like to see Richard have a go, just to see how he'd go, As I said, doesn't have the raw pace, but his racecraft is very good. He's so good at taking the opportunities when they are there. It's very hard to do that in Formula 2 when there are so many eager drivers that always want to pass you, to have dear moves up the inside in the corner, but he somehow brings the results, and for teams that usually don't get results, like Trident always struggle in Formula 2. Van Amersfoort, they're nowhere this year. Last year he's regularly in the points, podiums, I think a race win. So he's really impressed me. And as I said, it'd just be nice just to see him, like maybe half a season, just to see how he'd go in F1. He's probably not fast enough in raw pace, but as I said, always maximises his opportunities. It's hard to argue against Gabriel Bortoleto being the fastest driver here, but Hadjar, okay, that safety car caught him out. But he's up near, like he's one of the front runners. He's supposed to be cutting through the field, overtaking drivers like Miata and Fittipaldi and Villagomez, but he's not. He's stuck there in the midfield and not making any progress. And when you're fighting for a championship, when you're aspiring to impress Red Bull and want to be a Red Bull Formula 1 driver, you need to be. It seems that when Hadjar's not in a favourable position, he lacks the fighting spirit, and it's that fighting spirit that got Gabriel Bortoleto the excellent result he's had. And a lot of people are like he's on a lot of lips now. A lot of people comment on the internet, oh, Bortoleto should be in Formula 1. Right, because of the way he fought back. Rafael Villagomez, yeah, I think excellent race from him. And very, very... Paul Aaron is someone you have to feel sorry for. And throughout the race we get the shots of him looking glum and sad in the garages of high tech. And, you know, somewhere like Hungary, that was his fault. Running into the back of Maloney, maybe in the sprint race yesterday, that's on him. But today, he made an excellent launch off the line, going into the first corner, not his fault whatsoever, so he's lost a lot of points. You know, and these drivers in Formula 2, they all have incidents, right? Even the best of them have incidents that take them out from time to time, so it's hard to watch a driver as fast as Paul Aaron have such bad luck and struggling so much just to get the results on the board that reflect his speed. But I think this race was a turning point. I think it's just a shame Zane Maloney hasn't been more consistent with his speed. Some races he wasn't fast. I don't know why. Maybe Rodin, their car is not fast at every racetrack, but was fast here. He put it on pole. He's coming into his own. But I think he's a little bit far behind Hadjar and Bortoleto with only 3 rounds left to make the impression that he wants to, you know, fight for the championship. I think from now on it's only between Bortoleto and Hadjar. The momentum seems to be with Bortoleto, but this is FIA Formula 2 and anything can happen. Now for driver ratings. I'm very harsh with the driver ratings. As I said, when you're driving in Formula 2, you want Formula 1 teams to take notice and say, I want him in my car. You've got to put in really good performances, but a good weekend is not enough. You have to have a really solid weekend, and I've also got to take experience into account with these ratings. So I'm just going to start with Victor Martins. I know ART have had a very struggling car, but Martins has, I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10 for his weekend. The main point where I want to take points off him is the feature race, because he's got those 2 Prema cars right on his gearbox, And in the dying stages of the race, he gets overtaken by Joshua Dirksen as well. It's not a good look. He looked vulnerable. For a driver of his experience, and we know how fast he should be, I think that's not very good. Even if he was quick in the sprint race, it was Behrman who capitalised, not Martins. So 6 out of 10. Zach O'Sullivan, I'm going to give him a 0 out of 10. Dreadful weekend. No pace. Made a silly mistake into turn 1. And in the sprint race, took himself out, took out Goethe. No one watching that. If anyone had a misgiving about if Williams promoted the right driver to the race seat between Zach O'Sullivan and Franco Colapinto, that race confirmed that out of those two drivers, Colapinto was the better choice, no doubt. And I hate saying that about Zach O'Sullivan. He's been very fast before, but that was really bad. Going to give Oliver Behrman a 7 out of 10. Behrman, his qualifying's okay, but he capitalised on his opportunity in the sprint race. He took it with both hands. I like that. In the feature race, he's up there, he's fighting. But I have to take marks off because he just got stuck behind Victor Martins. His younger teammate Antonelli got through. Dirksen got through in an AIX, but Behrman got stuck there and couldn't make the overtake. So despite a sprint race win, I'll have to deduct marks there. Antonelli a 7. Had a dreadful sprint race. The qualified ahead of Behrman once again. In the feature race, he got they fought for lap after lap. They were wonderful fights between Behrman and Antonelli in the feature race. If you didn't watch the race, what's wrong with you? This is really an amazing race. They fought for lap after lap, but eventually Antonelli got the overtakes done. Behrman didn't, so I've got to give Antonelli at least a 7, right? Zane Maloney, I'm giving him a 7. He took pole. He did very well in the sprint race to make up places. So he started 9th and he's finished 5th. He's got past Enzo Fittipaldi, who started on the sprint race reverse grid pole. In the feature race, he was leading. He should have been in the box seat to win. But after the safety car came in, you have to say, compared to Gabriel Bortoleto, now I know the Invicta cars, they're one of the best teams, alright, Invicta, but still, I thought Zane Maloney would have more pace. Compared to Gabriel Bortoleto, he's lost 9 seconds by the end of the race. Now, I think 7. I think a team like Sauber is going to have another look. Maybe we're going to put Bortoleto or Porcher or Bottas in the second seat next year. But let's just have another look at Maloney. But it's not convincing enough. Ritomo Miata, I've given him a 4. I know that's actually quite generous. He's nowhere in the sprint race. His qualifying was... When his teammate's on pole, he's not in the top 10. That's not good. So does he deserve a 4? Well, I don't know. He finished in the top 10 on the road. He finished his race pace towards the end of the races is all right. So that's encouraging. So I'll give him a 4. Giving Jack Crawford a 5. I know he scored points in both the sprint and the feature. His Achilles heel is his qualifying. He has to make places through the race. It's very average from Jack Crawford. And I'll give Juan Manuel Correa a 3. I don't remember his race very much. I know he's collided, he's gone out. But his qualifying is I suppose close enough to Jack Crawford. And then Kushmani I'll give a 3. I think it's a little bit harsh, but you know, when Gabriel Bortoleto has all that pace, the Invicta is a quick car, and you qualify in 15th, you make no impression during the sprint race, and in the feature race, obviously he's caught out by the safety car. His race pace was all right, but you know, at this time, of course, mine is experienced. He should be he should be faster. So I'll give him a 3 because I don't think any Formula One team watching that was like, oh, yeah, we've got to keep him on the radar. No. Gabriel Bortoleto, I've given him a 9. And the main reason I give him a 9 is for the fighting spirit he showed, which I spoke about before. The never give up, just bounce back. That's going to put him in the shop window for an F1 seat. I don't know if he's going to get it. If it's Sauber between Bortoleto and Pourchaire, I don't know. Maybe because Pourchaire is... I'd like to see Théo Pourchaire in that seat. I think he should have been there this year. But Bortoleto deserves to have a chance in F1. He's rapid at the moment. As I said, it's not so much that he's fast. It's not so much that he won the race, but it's how he performed after the safety car came in, how he didn't give up, and of course the sprint race from last place on the grid. To me, that's thumbs up, 9. Can't give him a 10 because he spun out of qualifying. Dennis Hauker, a 5. 4th on the grid is a good showing, but he's a third-year driver. He's average in the sprint race. In the feature race, he gets taken out. It's not his fault, but it's not impressive either. Oliver Goethe, I'll give him a 5. He's been taken out in the first race. It's not his fault. He's got caught out by the safety car in the feature race, but he's faster than the likes of Stanek, Cordeal and Coulin. So he looks to be, if he gets a bit more experience, he could be a point scorer. Let's see how 2025 goes for Goethe. Enzo Fittipaldi, I'll give him a 3. He's too slow. He's lost positions. And then he's finished behind his teammate Rafael Villagomez. And, you know, when you've been there for 3.5 seasons, you're supposed to be on it. You know, like if you want to impress people, you've got to be up there competing for wins and podiums all the time. Now, I know VAR isn't the best team, but I want to talk about Rafael Villagomez. I'll give him an 8. Rafael Villagomez has done a very good job. He may have benefited from the safety car, but, you know, there were so many laps after the safety car. He's faster than Enzo Fittipaldi, and at the finish line, like, he's all over the back of Oliver Behrman. Oliver Behrman is bound for F1. People say great things about Oliver Behrman, and yet there's Rafael Villagomez. Now, people going into this Formula 2 season said, oh, you know, Villagomez is... he wasn't highly rated, let's put it that way. But he's beaten his far more experienced teammate. He's been there mixing it with more highly regarded drivers. So to me, an 8 is fair enough. Anne-Marie Cordeal, I'll give a 1. Is anonymous all weekend. Paul Aaron, I'll give a 4. Third on the grid is not bad for qualifying. He's a very fast qualifier. In the feature race, he had a very good start. It's not his fault he got taken out. The sprint race was kind of shabby. It's very interesting. Back last year at the Formula 3 finale, the exact same thing happened to Paul Aaron on the first lap. I don't remember if it's the sprint or the feature, but you see him spinning out at the first corner in Monza. But he got hit from behind. So same thing 2 years in a row. Very unlucky. Isaac Hadjar, for the reasons I gave before, he gets a 0. You can't finish Like, look at the sprint race. You can't finish behind a guy in a 21 lap race, a guy that started last, and you're starting in the top 10 and you hope to be a title contender. You want to be in a Red Bull car. That's not good enough. Any day of the week, no pace, a 0. Pepe Marti, I'll give him a 3, which is all for the sprint race. He looked good on the Fridays, got over his qualifying problems, but despite holding on for a nice 4th place in the sprint race, he's gone and crashed in the feature race. Richard Verschoor, I give an 8. As I said, he can always rescue a good position if he gets an opportunity. He always takes that opportunity. He's got quite a few podiums, and I don't think Trident is the fastest car or the best team. And for the same reason, I give Roman Stanek a 3. He's not there. The only reason I'm not giving him lower than that is because I don't think the safety car helped him. Joshua Dirksen, I'll give a 7.5. A bit specific, very fast. I think the fact that he's up there mixing it in both the sprint and the feature, mixing it with the likes of Behrman and Antonelli and Martins, highly rated drivers. 2 of them are on their way to Formula 1. No one rated Joshua Dirksen before the start of the year, so the fact that he's up there fighting with him is very impressive. AOX, look at last year, 0 points. If AOX had Josh Mason, Brad Benavides, Niels Coulin, they're not scoring any points, but Joshua Dirksen, double points. Podium in the sprint, 5th place in the feature race. Excellent weekend, but I've taken points off because he was scruffy. He's gone off the road one too many times. As for his teammate Niels Coulin, I know it's his first race. I should cut him some slack. I'm giving him a 0. I don't want to say too much, but just remember, when a safety car came in the feature race, he's near the top. He's one of those drivers that haven't pitted yet, and he just kept going off the road onto the gravel, and he was last after about 1 or 2 laps. So to me, that's the level of Niels Coulin. But another exciting race. I think the race itself, maybe a 9 out of 10. I'd give it a 10, but I've seen maybe a 9.5 out of 10. Very exciting race. You're crazy not to watch Formula 2.